Young and the Restless next week. Cole's death stuns and Adam's extreme revenge unleashed. Young and the Restless spoilers for June 30th to July 4th, 2025. See Cole Howard, J. Eddie Peck, being on his deathbed, and Adam Newman, Mark Grossman, going to extremes to stop a bad thing from happening to his family. We've also got scoop on Kane Ashby's, Billy Flynn, Secret Weapon, and Devin Hamilton's, Brighton James, Darkest Fears. We've got your latest Y&R spoilers for the week of June 30th and some info on holiday preemptions for the CBS soap. The aftermath of the storm. Victor, Nikki, Billy, and the gangs return from France. So we are wrapping up this week with Victor Newman, Eric Braeden, Nikki Newman, Melody Thomas Scott, Billy Abbott, Jason Thompson, and the gang stuck in France because of the storm. But it looks like they're all going to be back home, including Kane, next week at some point. So Josh Morrow promised us a murder mystery. He didn't say if it was going to be in Genoa City or in France, but he said it was coming. So we'll see where it manifests. It's looking now like it's going to be back in their hometown. Kane's plan B and Nikki's worries. Chancellor Industries and revenge plots. So as this week on Y&R wraps up, Victor and Nikki are irritated because they can't leave Kane's French estate. And Victor is worried that Kane may have a plan B for getting a hold of Chancellor Industries and that they are being kept there sequestered for a reason. All true. Nikki's worried about Lily Winters, Crystal Khalil, still wanting revenge for her and Victor doing Lily dirty when they snatched Chancellor, but Sharon Newman, Sharon Case, talked them down off that and says no, Lily doesn't want anything to do with Kane. So that's off the table. Not on the roster of concerns. Lily's rejection and retcon dialogue. Exploring relationships on Young and the Restless. It is painfully clear Lily despises Kane, and she even kissed Damian Kane, Jermaine Rivers, at the end of the week to send a clear message to her ex that she's moved on. And actually what's really funny is that they are doing retcon stuff in the dialogue. If you listen on Friday's episode when Kane is talking to Lily about a reconciliation, and she's talking about how they are not the young kids they used to be. What? She was 18 and he was like 30 or 31 when they were getting together. So they are trying to dial it back because Billy Flynn is significantly younger than Daniel Goddard. You know, maybe when he lost that Australian accent, he lost years. But they're definitely trying to restructure history when I think it'd be better if they just didn't mention it instead of contradicting it. Victor's concerns and Phyllis's nonsense. Alliances and opportunities in Genoa City. Anyway, Victor is also worried that Jack Abbott, Peter Bergman, might team up with Kane against him. But Nikki thinks Diane Jenkins, Susan Walters, is more likely to do that. Meanwhile, Phyllis Summers, Michelle Stafford, is talking out of her backside, telling the Newmans that she's in on this big opportunity with Kane and how they're going to be working together, blah blah. Typical Phyllis's nonsense. Although, I do think it's going to manifest. It's just that she's making it up right now. Kane also tells both Victor and Nick Newman, Joshua Morrow, that, he made the offer to buy Chancellor. Victor turned him down, so that's that. It's cool. No problem. They can relax. Not true. Young and the Restless. Kane's real co-conspirator and Adam's discovery. Unveiling the nefarious plan. Meanwhile, next week, Kane is back in Genoa City and meeting with his real co-conspirator, who is not Phyllis. Kane did an end run and he fired Damian and then made a side deal with Holden Novak, Nathan Owens. And he's the one who's been buying up all the real estate around the Newman and Abbott business holdings for some nefarious reason. Kane wanted Holden doing it, so his name's not on it. And Kane is asking Holden next week if anybody suspects what's going on, and he says no, they're in the clear. That's not quite accurate because Adam has figured out after doing some digging that somebody's buying up all that real estate. He tells Chelsea Lawson Newman, Melissa Claire Egan, he's got to go tell Victor. I don't know if he knows it's Holden or he just suspects it's Damian because at this point he doesn't know it's Kane because no phone service yada yada. So Adam's got to go tell Victor because nobody in the Newman family is answering his calls, and that's because of that bad storm and possibly because Kane is jamming cell signals. Adam's valiant efforts and Devin's worries. Unraveling Kane's distraction. So next week, watch for Adam to basically hike his way through torn-up train tracks that were ravaged by the storm to get to Victor and drop the bombshell about what Kane is doing back in their hometown. By then though, despite Adam's valiant efforts, it may be too late. We'll see. Next week, before everybody leaves for home, we've also got Devin telling Amanda Sinclair, Miss Hale Morgan, that he's worried Kane is using this big party as a way to distract them from something. That's accurate. Devin is then pumping Kane's lady lawyer for info, but he gets nowhere because Amanda claps back on Devin and says, even if that was the truth, Why would I ever tell you? You know, Amanda walked in on Devon banging Abby Newman, Melissa Ordway, in their living room, and Abby's husband, Chance Chancellor, Connor Floyd, was with her. So they both got an eyeful. So yeah, Devon's right to be worried because Amanda hates him and has Kane's ear and doesn't like Abby, and you know Kane has given Amanda the means to clap back on him if she wants to. Potential payback and foreshadowing. Kane's revenge and Claire's choice. And if Lily keeps rejecting Kane as I suspect she will, then you know Kane might take aim at Winters and Chancellor both for payback. I think Amanda would love to take a shot at Devon. Also, we had Claire Grace Newman, Haley Aaron, suffering that panic attack, and Holden coming to her rescue this week, and they're doing some bonding, and I think that's foreshadowing who Claire is going to turn to if Kyle Abbott, Michael Mealer, does a bad thing, and does that bad girl Audra Charles, Zuleika Silver, in France. Cole's battle with Legionnaire's disease and holiday preemptions. Spoilers and updates for Young and the Restless. So, next week we've got more on Claire. She and Victoria Newman, Amelia Heinley, head back to Chicago to see Cole, who is battling Legionnaire's disease. He's happy to see Victoria and Claire again, and was afraid they wouldn't make it back in time. What he means by that is he thinks he is dying. Cole is glad that they're there to say goodbye before he kicks the bucket. For the record, out of curiosity, I looked up to see how fatal Legionnaire's disease is. Not very. It's very treatable. It's got like a 90 to 95% survivability rate in somebody Cole's age who's basically healthy. And even among high-risk individuals that are older or have comorbidities, it's like 70 to 80% survivable. Cole the victim? So if Claire's dad kicks the bucket, it would be against the odds. But it's YNR. I'm not entirely sure they know how to spell Google up in the writer's room to check stuff out before they put it in scripts. The one thing I can think of is maybe Cole is our murder mystery victim, and he's been intentionally infected with some terribly virulent strain of something. I don't know why people would pick on Cole though, because I'm also wondering if Chance is going to be the one to get a dirt nap because Connor Floyd quit YNR. I don't know why they would recast the role of Chance Chancellor because they barely use him anymore in storylines. It seems like that would be kind of a waste of budgetary resources. Young and the Restless. And also, so Friday is July 4th. The Independence Day holiday. It's a complete and total toss-up of whether we get a new or a rerun episode of Young and the Restless. Last year 2024 it was brand new on July 4th, but most years before that, because I was thinking it wasn't new, that it was typically a rerun, and I dived back in just to double-check looking at recaps, and sure enough it's almost always an encore. So, it's very important that you check your DVR, late Friday on Saturday, and if it is a rerun, delete it or your Monday episode might not record because they encode it with the episode number and the season number. And if you already have one sitting on your DVR with that info, it won't record the next one. It doesn't actually know the content that's aired. It only knows how it was listed in the program guide. Just if you wanted to understand the technicalities of why that happens, because you'll notice if you've got a preemption a lot of times your next day doesn't record, and that's why. Be sure and check back tomorrow for your full roster of Young and of the Restless spoilers. I'll have dated daily spoilers for the entire week of June 30th through July 4th. And even if they tell us it's a new episode, that doesn't mean that it will be. So check your DVR. The morning in Genoa City felt unnaturally quiet, as though the world itself had paused, holding its breath in anticipation of tragedy. Victoria Newman sensed it before her phone ever rang. She had been pacing her living room, unable to shake the uneasiness that wrapped around her like a cold fog. When the call finally came, the silence shattered. Victoria. I'm so sorry, Nick whispered on the other end, voice trembling. Nick? What happened? It's Cole. There was an accident. And he didn't make it. The coffee mug slipped from Victoria's hand, crashing onto the hardwood floor. The rest of Nick's words blurred into a hollow ringing in her ears. Cole, her first love, her co-parent, her friend through decades, was gone. And nothing about it felt accidental. Chapter 1. A town in mourning. News of Cole Howard's death spread across Genoa City like wildfire. The townspeople reacted with shock and grief, but none more intensely than Victoria. She collapsed into Nick's arms outside Chancellor Winters, sobbing until her voice gave out. Nikki Newman stood frozen, her hand over her mouth, tears forming in her eyes. Victor Newman's jaw tightened as he absorbed the news. Losing Cole meant losing the man who had loved Victoria with a sincerity and gentleness that even Victor had, over time, learned to respect. It doesn't add up, Victor muttered. Cole was cautious. Responsible. There is more to this. Victoria heard him, but she couldn't respond. Her heart felt split open, every breath sharp and painful. She kept replaying Cole's last message. "Dinner tonight? I've got something important to tell you." Now she would never know what he meant. Chapter 2. The investigation begins. At the police station, Chance Chancellor studied the accident photos with narrowed eyes. The skid marks, the impact angle, the loosened guardrail. Something was wrong. The evidence didn't match the simple, driver error explanation. "This was staged," Chance murmured. Someone wanted Cole dead. He began compiling a list of potential enemies, but one name kept rising to the top. Jordan. Jordan had already terrorized the Newman family, manipulated Claire, and held Victoria and Cole hostage months earlier. Though she had vanished into the shadows, Chance knew she wasn't finished. He contacted Adam Newman immediately. Chapter 3. Adam unravels. Adam had been at society when he got the news. At first he assumed he misheard. Cole, dead? No. That didn't make sense. Cole had been one of the few people willing to give Adam a second chance. A voice of reason whenever the Newman infighting spiraled. Adam broke a glass in his hand without realizing it, blood trickling down his wrist. "Who did this?" he demanded when Chance arrived. "We're not ruling anything out," Chance replied carefully, "but there are signs of sabotage." Adam nodded, jaw clenched so tightly it ached. "Jordan." Chance said nothing, but the silence was confirmation. The old Adam, the vengeful, ruthless, unpredictable Adam, began stirring beneath the surface. He tried pushing it down. He tried breathing through the rage. But when he saw Victoria break down during the questioning, something dark snapped inside him. "No one," Adam whispered, "hurts my family and walks away." Chapter 4. Victoria's spiral. Victoria sat alone in Cole's empty house. His sweater still hung over the back of the couch. His notebook was open on the coffee table, filled with scribbled ideas for a new book he'd been excited to write. Everything smelled like him. Cedar, ink, and faint cologne. She found a folder labeled 4V. Hands trembling, she opened it. Inside was a letter. "I've been thinking about us. About Claire. About the years we lost. I don't know where life will take us next, but I want to talk to you about giving our family another try." Her breath hitched. Cole hadn't just loved her. He wanted a future with her. Now that future had been ripped away. By someone intentional. "I won't let you die for nothing," Victoria whispered through tears. Chapter 5. Adam's hunt begins. Adam didn't wait for permission. He began searching every abandoned factory, motel, and hideout Jordan had used before. He recruited people who owed him favors. Men who operated in the gray areas of Genoa City's underbelly. He interrogated, bribed, threatened, and surveilled. His humanity flickered further with every day. Nick confronted him outside Crimson Lights. "Adam, stop this. This isn't what Cole would want." Adam's eyes were ice. "Cole isn't here to want anything. You're going too far." "Not far enough," Adam snapped. "Jordan killed someone who risked his life for my family. For Victoria. I will make her regret ever coming near us." Nick stepped back. Adam wasn't just grieving. He was transforming. Jordan's message. 3 days later, a small package arrived at the Newman Tower. It contained a single Polaroid. Jordan. Smiling. Standing beside a burnt-out vehicle. "Miss me? Jay." Victoria screamed. Adam took one look at the photo and walked out without a word. He wasn't going to wait for Chance. He wasn't going to involve Victor. Jordan had declared war. Adam was going to end it. Chapter 7. The confrontation. Adam tracked Jordan to a remote cabin outside Genoa City. He kicked down the door, rage roaring through him. Jordan clapped slowly. "Adam Newman. I knew you'd come. You're predictable when you're angry." "You killed Cole," he growled. Jordan shrugged. "Collateral damage. I needed to make the Newmans suffer." "And you?" "Oh, you were always the easiest to manipulate." Adam lunged. The fight was brutal. Glass shattering, chairs breaking, both of them crashing into walls. Jordan reached for a knife, but Adam slammed her hand against the counter, disarming her. Years of buried fury poured out of him. He had her pinned. One final move would end her reign forever. But Victoria suddenly burst through the door screaming, "Adam, stop!" Breathing heavily, Adam froze. Jordan slipped free, fleeing into the woods. Victoria grabbed Adam's arm. "This isn't you." He looked at her with wild, haunted eyes. "She killed the man you loved. I can't just let that go." "You're not a killer," she whispered. "Don't let her turn you into one." For a moment, Adam shook, caught between vengeance and humanity. Chapter 8. A New Resolve. Chance later captured Jordan miles away after she fell into a ravine. She survived, but barely. She would face justice. Adam sat alone on Victoria's porch that night as she wrapped a blanket around him. "You saved me from myself," he murmured. "You saved Cole's memory," she replied gently. "He believed in redemption. So do I." Adam let out a breath he'd been holding for days. "I just wanted to protect you." "You did," Victoria said softly. "In the only way you knew how." Epilogue. Cole's legacy. Cole's memorial brought Genoa City together. Victoria spoke last, voice steady but aching. He loved deeply. He forgave easily. And he believed even the most wounded heart could heal. She glanced toward Adam. He nodded, silently promising to honor Cole's faith in him. Justice had been served. But healing, true healing, would take time. Still, for the first time since Cole's death, Victoria felt something like hope rising in her chest. Cole would always be gone. But his love, his legacy, lived on in everyone he touched. Especially her. The private Newman jet touched down on the Genoa City runway beneath a sky still bruised from the storm that had swept Europe only days earlier. The passengers, Victor, Nikki, Billy, Victoria, Nick, and Adam, stepped out into the cool evening air carrying the heaviness of what they'd endured in France. What was supposed to be a glamorous celebration of Newman's European expansion had devolved into chaos, danger, and long-buried secrets clawing their way to the surface. And now, back home, the true storm was just beginning. 1. Victor's return. A man changed. Victor Newman descended the jet stairs slowly. Not because he was physically weakened, but because the weight of leadership had never felt heavier. In France, he had faced a betrayal so intricate, so deeply personal, that even he had been shaken. His mind replayed the moment their French business partner had revealed the plot to sabotage Newman Media's European branch. A trusted ally had turned enemy, nearly costing Victor more than just money. Nikki's life had hung in the balance. As he reached the tarmac, Nikki slipped her hand into his. Her touch grounded him. "You don't have to do this alone," she whispered. Victor squeezed her hand. "I know. But someone has to clean up the mess." He glanced back at the others. Everyone had left France a little different than they came. More guarded, more aware of how fragile trust could be. And as for him? The storm had reminded him that even the mighty Victor Newman could be blindsided. But it also reignited something fierce inside him. There would be retribution. Not in anger. In strategy. The chessboard had been reset. 2. Nikki's silent battle. Inside the terminal, Nikki paused, resting a hand against the wall as dizziness swept through her. She hadn't told Victor. She didn't want to add to his already heavy load, but the panic she had felt during the attack in France still clung to her like a second skin. She had been trapped in the wine cellar beneath Chateau Beaufort, the air thick with dust and fear, whispers echoing in her mind. It brought back memories she'd spent years burying. The helplessness she had once felt during her drinking days, the nights when she couldn't escape her own demons. But this time, she hadn't been alone. Victoria had found her. Adam had broken the lock. Nick had carried her out into the moonlight. Her family had saved her. Now she had to save herself. "Mom." Victoria's voice snapped her back. "You okay?" Nikki straightened. "Of course. Just tired." But Victoria's eyes searched hers with suspicion. Everyone was on edge, everyone was questioning everything, and Nikki knew she couldn't hide forever. Yet tonight was not the night for confessions. Tonight was about surviving the aftermath. 3. Billy's growing suspicion. Billy Abbott stayed toward the back of the group, hands in his pockets, eyes narrowed. The trip to France had shaken him too, not because of the sabotage or the danger, but because it had exposed something far more unsettling. Someone in their group had known about the attack before it happened. Someone had leaked information. And Billy had a suspect. Adam. Adam had been too calm during the chaos. Too prepared. Almost as if he expected the danger. And though Adam had saved Nikki, Billy wondered. Was the rescue part of the plan? A redemption stunt? A way to earn favor? Billy knew better than anyone that Adam always operated in the shadows. And Billy was determined to expose him. As the group reached the waiting SUVs, Billy hung back beside Victoria. "You know something's off, don't you?" he asked her. Victoria crossed her arms defensively. "Billy, please don't start. Not today." "I'm serious," he insisted. "Someone set all of this up, and the timing? The contacts? The motive? It all circles back to Adam." Victoria hesitated, not because she agreed, but because she feared Billy's obsession more than Adam's schemes. "Just don't do anything reckless," she warned. Billy smirked. "Reckless is how I get answers." Adam leaned against the car, staring into the distance. He had a secret, but not the one Billy suspected. He had known about the threat in France. Not because he orchestrated it, but because someone had warned him. A mysterious message had appeared on his phone only hours before the attack. "Protect Nikki. Don't trust the French partnership. Move quickly or lose everything." There had been no name, no sender, no clue. But Adam recognized the numbers embedded in the metadata of the message. It was a code his mother, Hope, used to use. A code meant to ensure Adam knew the message was a lifeline. Someone connected to his mother was watching him, guiding him. And he had followed the warning. He saved Nikki. He intercepted part of the plot. But he hadn't stopped everything. And that failure haunted him. For once, Adam wasn't the villain. But he couldn't prove it. Not yet. 5. The Newman family divide. Nick, caught between his father and his brothers as always, felt the tension crackling like static electricity. He stepped between Adam and Billy before either one could turn suspicion into violence. "Let's all get home and decompress," Nick said firmly. "We've survived enough drama for 1 week." Billy stared Adam down. "This isn't over." Adam rolled his eyes. "It never is with you, Billy boy." Victoria sighed. "Can we please just not do this tonight?" But the fracture lines were already spreading. Billy wanted answers. Adam wanted secrecy. Victor wanted revenge. Nikki wanted peace. And Nick wanted to hold everyone together. 6. The storm's final warning. As the SUVs pulled away, a cold wind swept across the runway. The storm in France may have passed, but the aftershocks were only beginning. In a high-rise office in Paris, the mastermind of the attacks watched a live feed of the Newman jet returning to Genoa City. He leaned back in his chair, swirling a glass of wine. "Welcome home, Newmans," he murmured. "The game has just begun." On the screen, the Newman family stepped into their cars, fractured, suspicious, each carrying secrets that would soon rip them apart. The storm in France had been violent, but the storm heading for Genoa City would be devastating.